episode 127. Today we're going to discuss the threat to real estate teams. We're going to get started with a new intro right now.
New intro.
Good.
Shout out to Young Jesse, the new fucking
right?
intro. Gets me all hyped up.
That was sweet.
That was sweet.
If you were listening to that intro on audio, like if you're just listening to it on podcast, you need to go to the our YouTube channel, the YouTube or the Facebook, and just the only real estate podcast worth listening to. So look, episode 127, right? We are talking about the threat to real estate teams today.
DEFCON. Wait,
one.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that one.
It's
I
confusing.
I know.
I know. It's not 5.
No,
That's
five's
is
low.
fine.
Oh,
Everything's good. International relations are fine.
Yeah.
Smooth sailing. Seems like a very strange.
This is like
way
one of
they
those.
deal
It's
with
like one of those things that somebody just decided a long time ago to make confusing. Like when you don't have a disease, they tell you you're negative for it.
Yeah, I don't like this camera angle right here, just straight into my ear.
Straight in your ear
It's an
hole.
ear hole.
And we won't use it too
Look,
much.
before we get started, this show is brought to you by our amazing sponsors. Mortgage Mike, Michael DeBacker,
Big Mike.
the best loan officer in Texas,
by far.
voted by us 3.
Probably in the universe.
And
He
probably
just happens to work in Texas.
Yes, yes. So if you're needing a loan officer in Texas, he's got a cool new program that we're going to be launching with him.
Yeah.
It's like Illuminati or something.
I
something like that.
I sent back one of those
Yes,
Illuminati
yes.
things.
You're going to want to listen and be on the lookout for what's being launched with him. It's badass. So I'm going to tell you right now. So go to mortgagemikeoftexas.com and just go follow him, subscribe to him, go send him some deals right now. See how awesome he is, because what he's going to be launching, I'm going to tell you, it's game changer. What was our last word?
Future casting.
Future casting.
Future casting Mortgage Mike.
We're future casting the mortgage industry with him.
Should we need to ask him, because he just texted us actually. Should we just like put his cell phone up there during these little spots?
281.
Yeah, just be like, hey, shoot him a text.
I think
See if you want to go get coffee or something.
I think we should just spend all our time just
Right.
cracking coldies and sending out Mortgage Mike's number to strangers.
Mortgagemikeoftexas.com. Was it 281-330?
Dude, I don't even know my own fucking number. I sure should
8004.
know.
You already know that one.
I had to type in my wife's phone number.
281-330-8004 is Mike Jones.
Oh, it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dang, I missed a bit.
Didn't it used to
Yeah, I
be
figured-
recording when you called
Yeah,
that?
I should have been on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Put me down on that one.
It's my-
And look, the best property management company in all of Dallas-Fort Worth, homeward.dfw.com. Just go there, check it out. Look, you got some renters or some investors that are wanting to buy rentals. Send them to homeward.dfw.com. Be entered into our referral contest. You need to go over to the only real estate group worth being a part of on Facebook so that you can see what that contest is all about. And then go to homeward.dfw.
We are going to be rolling that out, I think, tomorrow, our big old referral contest for the property management company. And Dana's doing an awesome job. Like it's been super cool to see this thing grow. And see a lot of happy customers and happy clients and build those relationships. But we're going to be building out a contest for all of our awesome agent partners. So I think we're going to be dropping that hopefully tomorrow. So go into the only real estate group worth being a part of and check that out for sure.
You know what I'm realizing sitting here next to you guys, looking at your beautiful faces, is both of you had like messy beards and shitty hair last time I saw you, and now you're both all clean cut and awesome, and I haven't been in like a month.
Yeah.
I am like the most scraggly
What is going on?
animal. This is so dude, this is what happens when you like implement systems in your life and then the systems break. So like I used to look like this all the time,
Right.
and even worse, right? Like trying to do my own beard and stuff. And so I just decided there's this place called Vita's right across the street. I'm just going to make an appointment for every 3 weeks at 10 a.m. every third Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right. I missed one. And now I'm on like a 6-week rotation.
Yeah, they can.
And look like a freaking animal.
Yeah.
There's white in my beard.
I
It's
can't
just exposing
stand
my
the
age.
beard. Like I'll go look at it, and then like the gray is always longer than the black hair.
Yeah.
and it just sticks out like all crazy.
I have loved, the older I've gotten, the more I've embraced my gray. What's
Yeah.
happened to me is the sideburn side. I start getting really wide.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
dude.
like,
Yeah.
bro, it just looks fucking terrible.
All right. As we took a 7-minute intro on that one,
Per use.
the threat to real estate teams, right? And something that we've all kicked around, we've been talking to a lot of people about is, and we kind of teased on it, and we did a little bit of a show last year about it, is that the threat to real estate teams is really not brokerages, right? Because
No.
there's a lot, including the one that I'm at,
Yeah.
the brokerage I'm at, talks about the disruption,
Sure.
right? This is disrupting the real estate industry. I'm like, look, it's really not. They just came out with a better mousetrap to attract agents from their other brokerages,
Sure.
right? So they did that with what? Revenue share and stock.
Yep.
But how did that what did that disrupt?
Nothing really, and I think that that's because when I say nothing, I think it didn't disrupt anything meaningful in the sense that I have always said, and especially lately, that there's a fundamental disconnect between what brokerages do and then what like real estate tech companies do, which is more direct to consumer. I always have thought that brokerages, in order to grow, actually have to be inherently self-serving in a way. And what I mean by that is we're both at what you would call, big brokerages or whatever, wide casted brokerages. And what they do differently than what I would say direct to consumer companies, like, the big tech names like your Zillows, your Redfins, whatever, is those companies are always trying to build better mousetraps to serve the consumer directly, whereas brokerages are inherently self-serving in a sense, and almost in a reverse fashion, meaning like brokerages are always trying to build more tools for the agents to go out and build their business, right? But then it's where I say it's self-serving is that, and we'll get into why this is a threat to real estate teams, is brokerages have made an industry all about giving the agent, the individual business owner, more tools, but then also preaching to them through like coaching and training and this whole sort of real estate growth zeitgeist that we have about leveraging as much stuff as possible to keep you in dollar productive mode at all times. And those are two sides of the same coin, because if you're giving me tools and then I have to go figure out how to use them, and I'm not the person who's the tool user, I'm not the integrator, I should be the operator, I should be the person out there serving clients, then what you've actually done as a real estate brokerage is you're kind of fragmenting your value proposition across tens or 20s or hundreds of thousands of different agents, whereas the tech companies are going direct to consumer and they're just building a better consumer experience, where brokerages are kind of self-serving. Is when they call, like, when they say it's disruption, you're only disrupting the other way that real estate brokerages have done business. You're not actually disrupting the real estate industry, if that makes sense.
Wow.
And that's what brokers are trying to do. They're trying to disrupt the brokerage.
And it doesn't help with from anything I've seen in the brokerage world. It doesn't help agents get on better production.
Well, no, because look, here's the thing is, and if you run a business, this isn't a knock, but you can only invest in the part of your business that makes the most sense. And for most brokers, especially in a capping model brokerage, their ability to invest in the agent stops where that agent stops becoming profitable for the office, right? So what is the incentive for the brokerage to take a $10 million producer and make niche systems for that because again, we can all admit that doing $10 million a year is fucking awesome, and there's not a ton of people doing it. So why would the brokerages focus resource and efforts to cater to people who have already paid the bills, and at the end of the day aren't going to make the brokerage any more money when they can focus on taking a $1 million producer, getting them to 2.2 or 2.3, whatever that cap number is.
And they do that through, and the way they do that is then getting them to sign up for third-party coaching, services or accountability. Right?
Brokerages are amazing at leveraging the agents inside the brokerage for free labor. Like, they're good at that shit. Hey, you want to train a class? And the agent's like, oh my God, they love me. And it's like, you just trained a contract class. Like,
and I don't want this to just turn into a brokerage brass fest, but we do got to be real on here. That is a super widely used tactic.
It's not super relevant.
Yeah, it's not. Wouldn't call it bashing. I would say that, like, this is the realistic.
It's just real, man.
Yeah,
it's just real.
And that where the threat to real estate teams are today, right? The real estate team was the complement to the brokerage.
Yes.
Right. So, you have a team that's up and running, up and coming, and they're getting to 10 to 12 to 15 million. And Keller Williams is one that really, really, popularized.
Close enough.
Popularized.
Popularized.
Yeah, there you go.
Close enough.
Yeah, good enough.
What was the one we did the other week? I can't remember. You guys know what I'm talking about, but that was a good one.
Triology.
Triology. I totally forgot about that.
But real estate teams.
Yep.
Right? Because I know when I got in, before I joined Keller Williams in 2007, the brokerage I was with before, they were running a husband and wife team, but you just didn't really see a lot of teams back then.
Yeah.
Right. And I come over to Keller Williams. There was some formation of team, but they were kind of, it was loose.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the team started just popping up everywhere. Right. And so that was the complement to the brokerage, that you make your brokerage, team friendly. And what do? They take on the new agent. The team trains them, puts accountability standards in place, gives them some leads, whatever's going to happen, and then hopefully increases their odds of making it in the industry and then making some money. And then maybe the agent leaves the team, but they still stay with the brokerage, and hopefully they've done well enough to stay producing.
Yeah, at least they retain them, right? And I guess I can't remember now. I can't remember where I was going with that. But and again, I don't want to be the brokerage bashing or anything, but that is where I think the big threat lies now, is that the brokerage is, like, you go back years, that was kind of the natural progression. Is you went from, in the industry itself, you went from kind of individual agents to small teams to mega teams to expansion teams. And that was all kind of on the brokerage path, meaning like that was what the brokerage kind of offered you, was, as far as a vision was, we're going to help you replicate and duplicate yourself through leverage to build this team. And then what sort of happens in a weird way is when that team hits a certain level, they're a little bit more self-contained. And now the brokers themselves, I wouldn't say they lose all value. That's not what I mean, but they almost become competitors with the brokerages themselves in some ways. Like, there are expansion teams out there that are as big as most brokerages.
When I think the brokerages haven't understand how to really operate in a space to support that, right? The brokerage has fortunately and unfortunately now stays for that new agent, right? And that mid-grade agent maybe $3 to $5 million, depending on the price point in the marketplace you're in. But if we even go back to the earlier days in real estate, like probably the 80s, early 90s, the brokerage
like
model
years ago,
you didn't really have a capping real estate brokerage, right? And so the brokerages were making good money, and that was a place that you could go get a phone system. They had the fax machine, they had good printers, right? And they were providing more resources, the office space and everything else. So they were providing resources to that individual agent, and helping support them and lowering their cost.
Yep.
But as technology has now come in, right? Yeah. And real estate agents don't need the office as much. They don't need copiers. They don't need the fax machines.
Digitization has lowered costs in and of itself.
Yes, the cell phone pretty much can run everything that you need to have.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of brokerages did not stay, weren't keeping up, up to date with everything. And they were still just, you come into the office. We've got desk space. We've got the copy machine still. We have free coffee, whatever it is. Right. And so they just didn't keep up with the support level to help an agent truly grow a large business.
They're a little bit behind what agents realized years ago, is that your value proposition can't be information anymore, right? Like, brokerages have kind of failed to catch up with what agents now, at least savvy agents, understand is, like, if your value proposition is just, I have access to the homes and I can get you inside of that, like, that's not it anymore, right? Yeah. Like, everybody has the internet, Open Door exists, right? Like, getting into homes, like, here's the thing is, let's be super honest, right? Like, you don't even have to have Open Door. Most of these agents can just call some other agent who's desperate, or not agents. Most of these buyers can call some other agent who's desperate as shit, who will go open a door for them with no buyer rep, no agreement that they're going to work together, and getting to see as many freaking homes as they want without ever committing to anybody. Like, the consumer has figured out the end around to this, and the brokerage is the last person to the table. And what in my opinion, what they've continued to rely on is agents' lack of understanding of what an actual business looks like, and the brokerage knows what the business looks like, and they stand on top of that agent saying, hey, look what we're going to show you how to do. And they will show you this. Show me a major brokerage. I believe there are small boutique brokers who probably do this, right? But show me a major brokerage who takes a $10 million producer, right, and shows that $10 million producer how to get to $20 million based off things they are offering them already built in. I just guarantee it doesn't fucking exist.
But that was actually what I was gonna bring that up a little earlier. Is like, what an amazing thought exercise, because we know between the three of us, we know thousands of real estate professionals. Do you know any really highly successful agent that either, one, you would attribute their success to their brokerage above anything else, or you believe that if they were at a different brokerage would be less or more successful? Like, I don't really know.
I will tell you right now, I can walk through the doors of any brokerage and do exactly what I do.
There's a
Now could I do it without you? And this is what I made in a Facebook post yesterday. This is where the alignment part of it, and we are way off the subject of the actual title of this fucking show.
No, we're not.
But
I'll tell you why we're not in a minute.
The alignment of it matters so much more, right? Like, I do not care, and I think Nick could probably say this, and anybody who's watching this who does units and has a real business, and I don't mean to knock anybody, but there's a difference between being a real estate agent and having a real estate business.
Yes.
You immediately realize, like, we could pick up Livy and DFW and the people that exist in it and move it anywhere. And other than the fact that it's going to be a beat for people to have to learn new systems for probably about a month, right? It's going to slow everything down. There's no real breaks that are going to be hit. Very candidly, when you guys moved, other than the onboarding, did TGHT slow down one bit?
That we've grown every single year.
That's my point, right? Because you know why? Because you guys were going to grow wherever you were, right? Yeah. You guys were going, because what you're doing is you're in alignment with the right people. You've got the right people in the office. You've got your agents and administrative staff and leadership all pointing in the same direction. You're insulated from all the other stuff. If anything, I would say the majority of brokerages spend a lot of time focusing on things that just aren't moving large teams forward, not because they don't want to. Most brokerages don't understand what it takes to move a large team forward. It's growing a big brokerage and growing a big team, I fundamentally believe, are not the same thing at all.
Right. So what I would say to what you're talking about is the threat to real estate teams is this platform model, right? That we touched on it back, I think, in early summer last year.
We talked about it a little while back.
Yeah, it was definitely before October. So it was early summer last year. And I bet you it was September.
Yeah.
September is when it happened. And if you go back to our September shows, whatever episodes those were in, you can see us kind of talking about this platform model. And I mean, I'm going to put it out there that I don't really believe that agents care. They're not going to die on the sword to really be at a capping or 100% brokerage place if the services were there to help them grow their business, make the net that they're wanting to make, so the take-home dollars, right? And have a leverage piece so they're not killing themselves with just working all the time, right? So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, the whole reason that the capping brokerage and the flat fee transactional brokerages happen is because the agents felt that there was the value in the brokerage that the services they were offering was lower and lower and lower to help them grow their business.
Yes.
Yep.
And I will say that the platform model with the growth that we're seeing is proven that so far, right? Because platform models, you don't cap, right? Platform model is like joining a real estate team, just on a larger scale.
Yep.
Platform model helps agents and teams that join and associate with it. They can scale their business at a lower cost.
Yep. 100%.
If you're talking about time efficiency and profitability, then that's a platform conversation. If you're talking about gross commissions and splits, you're having a very brokerage lower level conversation. And I'm not saying that to knock on anybody. I believe everybody has to find what's right for them when it comes to those types of decisions. And every time I see an agent say, like, I'm at 100% brokerage, first off, no, you're not. Like they wouldn't have a business if they made no money. And secondarily, I would also question whether or not you have a real business, or if you think you have a business and you just work for you, right? Like Like if you're to 100% brokerage, they're not providing you a ton of value, right? They're not providing you with systems to get you into residual income that allows you to take a vacation every quarter for 2 weeks, right? Like you can say that doesn't matter,
Right.
but I will assure you of two things. As you get older and as you start making money, that time efficiency, and this is what I talk to people about, especially inside our model all the time. Like I'm not promising the world. What I am talking to you about though is I know a way to make you more efficient and more effective in what you're currently doing and pour gasoline on those things. And I bet you I got a couple ideas you haven't thought of either, right? Not because I have them, but because I'm part of a thought collective of elite level people who are moving nimbly, not part of a thought collective of a brokerage that can only move as fast as its slowest agent.
Yep.
Right. And that in itself right there, if that's not valuable to you, then we may not be the right fit, right? You've just got a different business model that I don't know how to work with.
100%. And that's like, there's so many jumping off points there, but I think the way to kind of really dive into this a little deeper is I believe there are really two different types of real estate professionals, or real estate agents, we should say. And one tends to either kind of stay put where they are and eventually kind of fizzle out of the business, or become the other. And that is really the real estate agent and the real estate business owner, right? The real estate agent, this is actually why I think, call them 100% or flat fee or whatever brokerage is, where their bread is really buttered is, this is not to be morbid, but let's just talk real stats. Pound for pound, their agents probably do less volume on a year over year basis, right?
Correct.
This is an industry where 87% of agents don't make it a single year in this business, right? It's a difficult way to make a living. Well, in general, it's a difficult way to make a living, but it's even more difficult when you only do a few transactions a year, right? And so it seems more attractive to go to a flat fee or maybe 100% commission model because you're retaining a little bit more of what you're doing, and they have they tend to have lower retention rates. Agents tend to kind of bust out of the business at a higher rate from flat fee brokerages than anywhere else. And then two, what happens is if you do succeed and kind of become that real estate business owner and really build a business around yourself, what you start to realize is that, one, you're never on 100% commission, right? We always are transparent on this podcast. We closed $107,828,000 in real estate last year, and I think we're running up just over 30% profitability. That is real numbers, right? That's what a real estate business at a large scale looks like. It's a business like anything else. You know who runs at less than 1% profitability? Walmart, right? Like but they do a lot of volume, right? And so I say that to say, like, you're never on 100% commission. If you are, it's probably because you're not doing a ton of volume. And look, this business isn't for everybody. That's why so many people kind of flame out. But then where the conversation morphs to kind of the biggest threat to teams in as it relates to the platform model is where the brokerage, I think, kind of gets lost in all this mix. Is the brokerage is sort of an umbrella, a parent company, but they also have to cater to the broadest demographic they possibly can. And especially major brokerage, they include a lot of individual agents, smaller amount of very large teams, and a decent amount of people that are in the middle, right? And so to be able to provide the amount of leverage and resources and future opportunity to all those demographics is very, very difficult. Where platforms come into play is everything that large brokerages always talk about: leverage, leverage, leverage. Stay in dollar productive mode and leverage yourself. What happens is when you start to build a large real estate business, this is what we deal with every single day, the leverage points that a brokerage can offer you tend to disappear because they don't speak to the problems and the pain points in your business anymore at all, right? Our biggest opportunities at scale now are in pretty much every persuasion of our business. We talk about removing human friction, meaning using more automation, better messaging sequences, and that goes down to lead generation levers, training, onboarding, coaching, accountability standards, direct to consumer marketing. We try to use really, really high level systems, the same systems that Fortune 100 companies use, the same stuff that Coke does, you know what I mean? To just live in your brain right here, right? That's what we're trying to do and succeeding at doing on a platform level, right? And when you get to that point, the brokerage tends to take a little bit of a backseat to what the platform itself has to offer. And then you talk about, what was the thing the where everybody left their jobs, the Great Resignation? I
It's
call
still
it
happening.
it's still happening, right?
Yeah, I saw
I call it the Great Consolidation, right? It happens in every single industry, right? Like in the 40s, when you went to buy a car, you used to finance it with somebody else. Can you imagine? Barely anybody does that anymore, right? Like when you used to, until what was it? It wasn't Dodd-Frank. What was the investment bank law?
I don't even know why you're looking at me.
Banks, they used to not be able to be investment banks and consumer banks, but then there was the law that they got, Glass-Steagall Act. Man, I hope I'm right. Just do Glass-Steagall Act. Anyway, right? And so there we go. Glass-Steagall
That's a
Act. We're
thing.
gonna get this. Okay, and repeal it applies to thing markets. Yeah. Okay.
Separating commercial and
Celebrating. Yeah. Okay. And so you used to
God
only
damn,
be able
Dave.
to be. I like books.
You know that.
You used to 1933 too. Dang. You used to only either be able to be a commercial bank or an investment bank. You couldn't serve the public clients if you were an investment bank. You couldn't do both because of conflict of interest. That no longer is the case, right? Pretty much every industry at fruition eventually consolidates, and we will have that in the platform model in real estate, right? You will have the vertical integration of ancillary industries, your title, insurance, mortgage, things like that, and those will create more opportunity. When we talk about more opportunity, the opportunity for the real estate professional in the future is either to start a platform, be a part of a platform, whatever. We talk about this great consolidation, the opportunity for the real estate professional in the future, and this will, again, morbidly wipe out a lot of people in this industry. We have too many realtors in this country. Like when the average real estate agent only sells like 7 homes a year, that's not a great way to make a living. That is a KPI right there. You can say we have too many. It's too much supply for not enough demand. Where the opportunities are in the future, about the same amount of homes are going to sell every single year. People die, people are born, and about the same amount of homes get sold every single year. Where the opportunity lies in the future is more leverage, more nimble business building, and ancillary opportunity from adjacent industries through vertical integration. That's what platforms can offer that I don't think brokerages have done a very good job of really leaning into. And I guess my one, that I think is a huge opportunity. And two, like, going back to the idea of brokerages and big box brokerages, especially, there are some big box brokerages out there, and I just thought of this, that don't have caps, and we can name a few of them.
It blows my mind.
What I've always wondered is it makes sense why the big box brokerages with caps, the value becomes limited after you cap because you're only worth the cap to them. How does what more are you getting the more you sell with the big box brokers that doesn't have a cap? What are they doing with that money?
That needs to be our marketing efforts.
What are they doing with that money?
I do believe that some of them stay at some of those brands because a lot of those have good relocation accounts.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
a lot of the ones that I talk to that do
They
big
charge mad
businesses,
referral fees.
Isn't
they
that a
do.
massive
Yes.
splits though?
yes, well, like 52% or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
crazy.
So you're making 48.
Yeah.
And then you have to then pay your split with the brokerage, right?
So you make it 25
Yeah.
at the end of the day?
Yeah. So the number one thing that what Brian was saying, and look, I'm not with the platform, right? I run a real estate team,
Yeah.
and I'm with a brokerage that's the disruptor, right? And what I'm seeing is in a platform, what I personally like about it, just outside looking in, and I get to look into y'all's business, is number one, and I talk with agents all the time on this, the number one thing that people are lacking is the integrator.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they are an integrator themselves, number two is what they're lacking is resources.
Yes.
Right. And so if you're lacking those two and you can integrate, but you don't want to spend the money or don't have the resources, well, you're not going to do anything.
Well, and here's I was actually talking to this because I was fortunate enough to sit down with two people at lunch today and talk kind of about our business a little bit. And I love being able to recap what's happened. The reason this is also so hard and so difficult to replicate is and what personally at this table has been such a fortunate type of like stumbling type of process is we all happen to be great friends with one of the greatest integrators that I think we all know when it comes to
Jesse.
like Jesse.
It's Jesse.
Who like when it
makes
comes
this
to
all happen.
business. And at the beginning of he and I's journey, he was also willing to take a complete step back to allow it to work. And I think why a lot of people fail, especially on the team building side, is one, they're trying to do it by themselves, which I'm going to tell you right now is impossible. If you look at almost every major team, there is either somebody right next to them
every
that you
major
don't know.
company.
Everyone. There's nobody like, dude, even Apple was a couple of
Do
fucking
you
guys.
think Wikipedia is run by a guy named John Wikipedia? How cool would that be, though?
That would actually be pretty awesome. It's so hard to find people who are in alignment, who are willing to set aside their personal gain for a short period of time for the larger gain of everybody else. And again, kudos to Brian, because that's what he and Lady were willing to do, was say, hey, we're willing to take a step back while we build these things in order to figure out what's going to happen, so then we can move forward. That catapulted us forward, right? Had Brian stayed in production for that first year and we had to pay Lady, honestly, what she's fucking worth during that first year, it wouldn't look the same at all, right? And so much of that doesn't happen. It has nothing to do with the brokerage, right? It just doesn't happen to people in general. Where else are you going to find somebody else that you will buy into what you guys are doing to the point where saying, I'm in this for the long haul, especially when it's two successful individually producing agents who are making decent amount of money. They have to be at a certain pain point. It's just life is too, like, it moves around too much, and there's too many ways that a left turn turns into a right turn that you just don't have an opportunity to even start something like that very often,
So
much less succeed at it.
Let's talk about something, right? Because, you know, if you're listening to this, you're like, it sounds like a certain company, you know, Homer, right? Which you guys should be a Homer of. Again, I'm not part of it, but what I look at, you guys,
we ain't, and we said it.
Yeah, but what I'll say is, like, you guys posted your numbers yesterday, right? And I could care less about the overall number. What Brian said. How much did the agent make on your team?
The gross commission was $141,651.
There you go. That's the number one thing that needs to be talked about in a platform model, because you go look at real estate teams, you go look at agents, individual, and the gross commission income is not close to six figures.
And that growth aspect of that is what's really, really cool, is because, and again, I don't want this to sound morbid. This is a podcast that's supposed to empower people.
We also aren't going to feed you a bunch of bullshit.
just
either.
Power them to their grave.
That number only goes up in the future when we're talking about what real estate looks like in 10 years. The
Less agents, more teams.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just the business you're losing right now to somebody's cousin who happens to have a license. You're just not losing that business anymore. And so that number only continues to grow.
So you said less agent, more teams. Let's paint a picture on this, right? As less agents happen, commission compression is happening, right? Technology is disrupting this industry, right? This is real. So we're being disrupted. So less agents, less teams. The platforms take over. The platforms start gobbling up some of these great teams, right? So there's kind of either you're on board now, or if you wait too long, you may not have a seat on that bus to carve out your opportunity. Because if the platforms start gaining enough ground, which more than likely they will, because they have the resources to reinvest, like Zillow can, right? You have the resources to reinvest.
And this isn't even just us talking. Like, I'll talk about, people that we even compete with. I'm terrible.
Yeah, I was
placement
saying,
today.
you can Google place, comma Ben Kinney, comma Goldman Sachs,
$100
see what the hell we're talking
capital
about.
injection from the
Sarah
street.
Reynolds.
Yeah, Sarah Reynolds.
The Sarah Reynolds.
She's
team.
here in this office now.
Yes. So you start looking at it. So we start painting this picture. And again, I'm going to say that we're going to go out on a limb again on this one. We've done pretty well about being right on what's going to happen in the future so far. We're not just throwing shit out just to get people to listen and watch this, right? We were right, by the way, so far on the VR thing.
I know.
I posted on our last show, the VR show that we talked about. And on a news segment today, she's got her Oculus on, and it talks about working from home and in your VR workspace.
Yep.
Right. And next, we're probably going to talk about releasing some NFTs. So, but hold on. But
Matt's brain just exploded.
Yes,
I'm so excited about this now.
But from that, we can see that as the platforms take out, either you get on that bus and carve out your opportunity right now to be a major player on that bus, right? Because you do that and you're like, all right, I'm sitting pretty. Or you're like, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to see what's happening. I'm going to wait to see, whether this is real.
Yeah.
I'm I'm going to wait to see if I can build something like this on my own. I'm going to tell you, like, not to, it's hard.
It's
right.
mega hard.
I've tried to do it on my own. We've done fairly well. But again, the hindrance that I have, right, is you have some integrators, but you don't have enough.
Yep.
Right. I know companies that we're close with that have 15 people on software, tech, and coding.
Yeah.
That are cranking out stuff and making major ground. 100%. And so you get on this bus now, or you wait, and now you're kind of the low person on the totem pole.
I think some of this too is that we just live in a society where like everybody's like tries to make things look easier than it is, right? And so people are out there looking like, oh, I can do that. Let me tell you, for all of you who watched my vlog with Ryan Serhant, I don't know if you caught the part, but that guy has 14 people who just work in his content creation and like whatever
the whole
social
reason
media
everybody
department.
knows who that dude is because he has 14
Yeah,
people.
like I went up there thinking we were going to be talking to a couple of dudes and Jesse and I could pinch some stuff from him and start replicating. 14. Like,
bro,
dude, like it's designed to look easier. It's not like it's done on purpose, or it's done through a lot of hard work. You talk about the platform thing, dude. Unless you're Stephen Cooley out in North Carolina doing 700 units a year, I'm just gonna be honest with you. You ain't expanding into shit.
Yeah.
Like, because here's the deal: is nobody. I will always be the guy who goes rogue on this show and call people out. The reality is, unless you are doing big things with big influence, why the fuck would anybody join you in the first place? Yeah. So the idea that you're going to start at some grassroots level and build up some massive thing, because by the way, leadership doesn't immediately come with residual income. You will work 10 times harder for 10 times as long to get other, you just will. Yeah. Your dollar per hour will go down dramatically. Yeah. The idea of trying to start what is already rolling. These guys who are doing this, like, let's be honest, Adam Hergenrother and Ben Kinney, who are starting these platforms, these guys have been in this at a high level for teens of years. And what's going to happen in the interim while you're trying to figure out what they did, they are going to be pouring gasoline on what they've already done, and they are going to sprint away from you, right? Like, I'm not saying don't start a team. I'm not saying don't try and fulfill your dreams. I'm saying, like, if you think that this stuff is replicatable and you can catch up in some form or fashion, you're probably not. Even brokerages can't figure out how some of these guys are doing it, right?
Well, I mean, the platforms are pound for pound more successful than a lot of brokerages.
But why would, when you say, like, don't start a team, or, why?
Because I think so many people go into it exactly like I went into it, right? Like, you go into it thinking it's going to be some way to supplement your income. And the reality of it is, leading and succeeding through others is 10 times harder than doing 100 transactions a year on your own. It just is.
So let me ask you,
way more expensive.
When you said, like, supplement, is that also ego talking?
It's 100% ego, because here's the other flip side of it is having so many conversations lately with people throwing out huge numbers when we're talking about partnership and stuff. And as much as I love that, also, for most real estate agents, you are not going to reach retirement through the selling and buying of individual homes. What you have to understand is, every day you wake up unemployed, and every day you go out and grind and you find another amazing deal and you do great for your clients, that is your bases loaded, 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th grand slam. What you do as a job, as a real estate agent, is the most aggressive form of grabbing money that you possibly can find. It's also why the upside of it is endless, right? But the idea is to make as much money as you can from buying and selling houses, to then take that money, call you two numbnuts, and then say, hey, I got 100 grand. How do I turn this into 3 million in 15 years? Yeah. Because that's the conservative move that's going to get me to retirement. Whereas most agents look, I'm selling a bunch of houses. Fine. The more houses you sell, the harder it gets to sell more houses, the more balls you start to drop, because the foundation of people that you're building expect to hear from you, and you can't attend to them anymore because now you're too busy. That's the first problem. And then secondarily, who are you going to bring into your world that's going to be able to do it exactly like you do it, exactly the way you want to do it? And then it's going to be willing to pay you their money to do that thing, right? Like, it's just infinitely harder. And look, I'll blame brokerages for this. Brokerages come in and they tell this story of just build a team, or, hey, just close 3 deals a month. Do you realize how difficult it is to close 3 deals a month? That's not, like, majority of agents are not doing 36 transactions a year, but we paint this picture of it being so simple. And the real reality is it's just not. And most people would be better off and more profitable and happier and have more time if they would just look at the people around them, find someone amazing to partner with, and then walk that out, right?
What I would say and look at a comparison, right? So everything we look at, whether it's in a brokerage is going to highlight what? Their top agents, right? So if you're coming in and looking at a
Those
brokerage,
same top agents, so they're not providing mad value to.
right. But what they're doing is like you're looking at a brokerage, you're looking at a team, you're looking at, EXP, whatever that may be, right? What's being highlighted is the top of the top.
Yeah.
Right. That's already there. And if you look at the percentages, the percentage chance of you getting there, if you really were to write that on paper, of you getting to what that top level person is, let's say, is it greater or less than 10%?
It's so much less than 10%.
Less than 10%,
Yeah,
So much
right?
less.
So, or you go look at a highly producing real estate team that's either got expansion or a platform.
Yep.
Look at their collective group of agents on that team. And if that collective group is what was the agents GCI?
141,650.
141. If that's, let's call that your bottom.
Yeah.
If you think you're at least as good or better than the bottom, then you're at 141,000.
I mean, we can get granular. That I can show you people in that room that sold 4 houses in their entire career over years, and then when they joined us, they're making 6 figures,
Yes.
right?
So
And
that
has a lot to do with them, by the way, not just us, but we give them the resources.
so you have to check your ego. You've got to understand.
That's where most people stop.
Yes, you have to understand that brokerages and teams, and maybe platforms, because I've not interviewed them at that level.
Yeah.
But you need to look at the collective group and look at the bottom half.
Yeah.
If you're just saying, all right, I know that I'm better than the bottom half,
Right.
then I should be making X amount
Yeah.
or greater. This is my floor,
Yeah.
and my ceiling is way up there that I know that it's going to take me a lot of work, but I'm going to make a shit ton of money.
Yes.
And just like a professional athlete doesn't go to try to become an owner right away.
Right.
What they do is they take their disposable money, reinvest it, get side opportunities, which is usually in their world, commercials and shit like that,
Commercials,
endorsements.
Car washes.
Our world, car washes, yep. Our world, or now fitness
It's
equipment.
all fitness stuff.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all fitness style. In our world, in the real estate world, it's partnering with people that can get you into real estate investments that are going to provide cash flow.
Yeah.
Because one thing that needs to be talked about more is that when you're at the top of your game, you're not picturing in 5 years when you're like, oh, what does your next 5 years look like? Well, I'm making a shit ton of money because I'm selling houses,
Yeah.
right? So what happens if you get sick? What happens if a family member dies?
Yeah.
What happens if you can't work?
Yeah, what happens if the future is just different?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is
COVID shows up?
Then what does your
You
income?
know?
What does your income look like?
Yeah.
Oh, you've only planned for the best because you're at the top of your game right
Yeah,
now.
You're living on cloud 9 right
Yes.
now.
Yes. That's the conversations that need to continue happening. And it happens at a platform, at a higher level on a platform, because they've got the systems,
Yep.
they've got the scalability, they've got the integrator. All you have to do, it's a dumbed down plug and play.
Minimum of 3.
I know. Sweet, I passed.
But that is such like statement and then a question, because I actually, I don't want to say blame, but I do think this is a symptom of the way the industry was sort of designed from the beginning. Is we paint this picture of what can be accomplished, and we never really face the reality as an industry that most people, the vast majority of people, don't really accomplish what is kind of set out as the mold of like what can be accomplished. Like we prop up the top tippity top of what can be accomplished without ever recognizing the big elephant in the room that most people don't even make it 6 months to a year in this industry. We don't look at the boneyard over here, like any of that. And then I guess the question is, like, what is it in your belief? You're a massive integrator as well. What is it that stops people from just, I don't know, for lack of a better word, being like that? Like,
Here's what it is. It's just a lack of understanding of what it looks like on the other side. And this is like the cliched thing is there's levels to this shit.
yeah,
That's what it is, right? Like you just don't know what you don't know at every single level.
yeah.
It's not that people starting a team shouldn't believe in themselves. It's not that they haven't done amazing things and overcome difficult situations. That's nothing to do with that. It's that until you've done it and maybe even failed at it a couple of times and then seen what it looks like on the other side of failure, you can't possibly know how much work it took, how many wires were under the table that you don't even know how they get back to the original source, right? Like And again, if you understand that, you know exactly what I'm saying. And if you don't understand it, you're who I'm talking to.
I think that's
Right?
why it's like so beneficial, because you're 100% right. And I think it's so beneficial that the three of us never worked in the corporate world, because
Mhm.
you want to know why I'm a massive integrator, is because I never worked in a situation where I never just followed a game plan, and I never worked in an environment where if I screwed up, I got fired or anything.
Yeah.
Like, you guys remember this. Like, the reason, like, this is my favorite example of why this podcast has been successful, how our businesses have grown. Like, and just a great example of how everybody talks in October when they're making their business plan of all the things that they want to do in the next year, but
Mhm.
they just never pull the trigger on. And I think a lot of that comes from fear of failure and all that type of stuff. But like, when we first did our first webinar, it was like how to take 10 listings in a month.
God.
Like, you're talking about integration. We just sent out the invites for this webinar. We didn't even know how to make webinars yet.
300 people.
Hold on.
First of all,
You know who Brian's the integrator on that, because if Matt and I were doing this, first off,
we were just left.
yes, I'd be like, look, I'll send out a second email. Sorry, I'll send it an hour later. Like, sorry, technical difficulties.
Did Brian not let us leave that room? Like,
No.
Brian was like adamant.
we were
We're like, we
still
should have done this
using-
on a fucking Sunday.
We did it at like 6 o'clock at night, which in hindsight is
On
the
a
worst
Sunday.
time. Yeah, our Sunday. We were still using a free trial of Webinar Jam that was like limited features, and at like 5:58, none of the cameras worked, and we're just sitting there like. There was like 300 people signed up for this thing, and we'd never done a webinar before. And the reality is, if it failed,
Leave it, Jesse.
we probably would have made some dumb post about, hey, sorry about the webinar, we suck at this. Like that, like being an integrator is all about being comfortable knowing that a lot of the stuff you're going to do is going to be so terrible at
Yes, I
first,
know,
and
man.
just being okay with it. And I think that translates so well to the real estate industry. Like, if you can just be comfortable with really sucking at a lot of stuff and getting better over time, you could do pretty much anything in this business, I think.
And again, I don't talk to a lot of people, like, you know, in our own little world, we have some really amazing people we get to talk to. We got our first Russian clickbait comment on
That's
YouTube.
not even a good bot.
I know.
Put it up,
I
Jesse.
know. It's like, dude, that's like the derpiest freaking
It didn't even try.
God. Panka Minyekska. Figure out your trolling, you son. Here's the thing: is like, I think what's the hardest part about this, and what was always really difficult for me, that when I was in my ego about this, and I've said on the show, you know, I sat down with Nick. And we were, but when I was an individual agent I wasn't a shitty individual agent, right? Like,
Yeah.
I could sell some houses, right? I also put in a post yesterday, you know, our team had some amazing numbers this year. That is solely due to putting the ego aside and putting and putting on some humbleness a little bit, and realizing that, like, I had no idea what I was doing at all. And I think all of this boils down to that a little bit. Not saying that, like, you have to partner with somebody or you have to be humble to do big things. I think you can go further with people who are in alignment with you, who are trying to do the same things, who understand the goal. And specifically for us on our team, that's what's kind of accidentally happened, is that the culture has created itself through having people on the team who are just bought into the same idea. That is the hardest part about doing any of this, not just on the team level, but also on the brokerage level, right? Like, we sit here talking about brokerages and their difficulty. You know, there was a time when I came to this brokerage and it was a lifesaver,
Yeah.
right? Like, it was a life raft in a real estate world where I didn't know what I was doing. I still love everything about it. I also don't need anything from that relationship the
Right.
same way I needed it before. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not means they're bringing less value or more. It's just we have escalated and moved past that now.
Sure.
But in order to get there, it started with breaking everything down and going back to Brian's told this story, dude. Brian and I's partnership started over tears and beers, dude.
Yeah.
It wasn't like two dudes who were like, we're gonna go fucking wreck the
Yeah.
world. It was two dudes like, I hate everything. My marriage is in trouble. Like, I'm not making any money. Everybody thinks I suck.
There was
Right?
not
Like,
a ton of excitement when we first
no.
partnered. There was a lot of fear.
It was a ton of fear. But through that fear, also, it leaves you super raw and super vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it lets the other person see you for who you are and what you need. And that doesn't speak to brokerages, agents, even real estate. It speaks to life. And if you want to do anything, the more difficulty that has entered this relationship,
Yeah.
the more it's drawn everybody closer together, right?
100%.
And if you
dude.
can't recognize that that is a part of doing big business stuff, you're just focused on the like only one side of the coin, and you just won't have as much success as you could.
And either what ends up happening, right? So if you're in the platform, you're in a high producing team, or looking to just join as an agent, either you're going to get left behind and you're going to deselect yourself,
Yes.
or you rise up to the challenge and you're going to do the work. You're going to increase your business.
Yeah.
And you're either going to be maybe more, better fits, better in shape. You're going to schedule more date nights. You're going to invest better, right? You're going to be better with your money. And so the level of conversation definitely increases.
Yes.
I don't know what the ROI of relationships is. All I know is
it's infinite.
that is the thing. That's the point, is when you are in the right relationships, you don't even ask, right? Like my life is better because of the people who are in it. And I know through continuing to nurture those relationships and be who I am, more people who are going to advance my life in every way are going to come into it.
So do we have to get each other Valentine's Day presents?
I kind of
I think we should.
Yeah.
Broentines.
Matching
They
tattoos.
got Galentines.
Matching tattoos, I guess.
Somebody, whether you're watching this live or later, what's the male equivalent of Galentine's Day?
First, I didn't even know there was a Galentine's Day.
Do you not watch Parks and Rec?
It's what? You don't
No.
know what Galentine's Day
No,
is?
I don't watch
I
that
thought that
shit.
was a pretty
Ridiculous.
widely.
I don't know.
Widely.
No.
Can you imagine a software engineer being offered an opportunity by Google, and they're like, "I'm actually just going to start jeffsearch.com." And like, I don't think people will come. They'll be like, "My database." will
Yeah,
come."
somebody did. It was called Ask Jeeves.
Was I with you? Who was I with the other day when we went to
I don't know.
AskJeeves.com? Still there.
Yeah.
Oh, we
It's
did it
still
on the
there?
podcast.
I
Yeah.
think MySpace is still there.
Well, I think they've come back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they're gonna come back. You know that dude's just like a photographer now, Tom. He sold out, made all his money. He just Google this really fast as we wrap up. What is Tom from MySpace doing? He's living the life,
Best life.
bro. Understand? Mark Zuckerberg
While
has
he's
so
looking
much
that up,
pressure on him still nowadays.
What is Tom from MySpace doing now? It's literally
Bro,
the first
The
thing.
first thing, he's just taking pictures of like the Pacific Northwest hanging out, bro. He's got it. You want to talk about who won? Winners and losers of the social media gold rush.
Dude, got
Tom is a
out.
winner.
Sold for $580.
Sold for $580 million.
If he did anything with that money, nobody in his line has to work
He's
forever.
fine, and he's the best kind of
He
famous.
retired, I don't know, 2009. What is that? 12 years ago now.
If you saw
13?
that dude at Starbucks, would you recognize him and bother him?
No, he's
No,
That's
I'm
the
actually
best
super annoyed
kind
how
of
his
famous.
fucking bangs are hanging out from under his goddamn hat. He looks like an
This
idiot.
is what he's doing. He's taking pictures of Hawaii.
Oh, now he's on Instagram just taunting people with MySpace Tom.
He's like, "This is what happens when you sell your company for $580 million."
Still using an old MySpace
just taking
picture.
pictures of beaches and rubbing it in everybody's face. His Instagram handle is MySpace Tom.
Well, he only has 60,000 likes.
Tom is now a travel photographer,
I
so
like
he
that.
started a fucking blog,
Good work,
and
Tommy.
he's shooting. That's Singapore, bro.
Good
Good
work.
for him.
We got to go to Singapore.
We
That looks
do.
awesome.
For
I want to go
news.
on that boat.
a live,
the
building
rooftop.
thing.
yeah, a live show.
Yeah, I wanna
Live
go
show
there.
from the rooftop of the.
Yes.
I know what that hotel is. I can't remember. I looked it up one time.
It's the
Big announcement
boat
coming
on sticks.
at Q1, and we'll go to Singapore.
There you go. Cool. I'm in.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I'm in.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate.
Yes.
I know,
Next tour live. So, all right, wrapping up. Go support our sponsors, mortgagemikeoftexas.com, the best lender voted by us and his wife.
The important people.
Yes.
Yep.
You're going to want to go.
His
friend
parents
request
do
him.
not endorse him, though.
No. Oh, Bill Backer does not.
Yeah. Bill's
doesn't
like-
give a shit.
This kid's been fucking up since day one.
Yeah. I used to get emails from Bill. He's a loan officer.
Is he
really?
I got.
I didn't know that. I was doing bits.
I didn't know that either.
I used to get all of his emails, Bill DeBacker's emails, all the time.
Nice.
So go follow Michael DeBacker.
Second
Mortgage Mike.
generation lender.
That's right.
Does he call himself Billy D?
I don't know.
He
Well,
super should.
the Billy D.
We're just
Mortgage
coming up with
State-
marketing ideas for all the
I know,
DeBackers.
dude.
Yeah.
We're helping
Write
all
us our
y'all.
checks.
Seriously,
Yes.
man. We're
Yeah.
royalties.
So mortgagemikeoftexas.com. Be on the lookout for something big coming out with that one that's really going to help you as a real estate agent increase your bottom line without having to do any more work.
I like that.
Yeah. We don't want to do more work to increase our bottom line.
Nope.
Right. And homeward.dfw.com. I blanked out there for a second. Fell asleep.
Part owner,
Homeward.dfw.com.
and it's no big deal.
Homeward.dfw.com. the best property management company in Dallas Fort Worth. Go check them out. And tune in tomorrow or whenever you're listening to this damn show. Go to the Only Real Estate Group Worth Being a Part of on Facebook, so that you can see if we're running any contest for the property management company.
Heck yeah, dropping tomorrow. That is January 5th, 2022. I'm
26th.
Wow, this year's flying
Today's
by,
January
guys.
5th. Tomorrow's
This year's
January
flying
6th.
by.
Yeah. Yes,
6 days in already.
Yes. So, all right. That's all I got.
I think that's it. We went an hour today, boys. That's a long time.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, Northcutt, I let a website expire today, so you can go grab that. And Jesse, take us out, baby. Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the Only Real Estate Group Worth Being a Part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. And then go to that one. Thanks.